most people talk about gut health, they're usually talking about digestion. But the real gut is deeper. It's your intuition, your inner compass. And for most of us, it's been silenced. What is gut intuition? Gut wisdom stored in your subconscious. It reacts before your thoughts do. That's power. Most people ignore it due to conditioning, social pressure, fear, just noise. Most people are so distracted from paying attention to what everybody else thinks that they're not really tapping in to what they actually think. And it's funny because it's almost like they think, but in reality, all their thoughts are being controlled by outside stimulus. Some people also are victims of trauma. Mix that with overthinking. So much going on that you're not able to really plant anything in your mind that can grow. So it's almost like a seed. You plant a seed in the dirt and it just sits still in sort of a dark place, and being left alone, it becomes an actual plant. A good thought is the equivalent of a seed, right? Something that you can plant in the dirt. The dirt is like your mind. But if your mind is so convoluted and constipated that you can't really move because you're not practicing stillness. A lot of times, you have this gut feeling of what's right, but then you kind of start looking for external validation. What do people think? But it doesn't matter what they think. Your thoughts are your thoughts, and it's your blessing. It's your opportunity. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to do anything with your being. And you're here for a reason, but it's sometimes hard to see that when you're trying to weigh your own intuition or even your own inspiration against what other people might think about it. And to be honest with you, in order for you to go to the next level, you have to use your own thought process, your own intuition. You can't really even understand what I'm saying or see it clearly. That's probably why you're not able to trust your intuition, right? So what are the signs that you're out of alignment with your gut? Definitely one of the big ones is second guessing. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. You have to be able to think clearly and have a singular focus. It's the easiest way for you to be in alignment. As soon as you start questioning yourself, you're out of alignment. Because what are you ultimately questioning? You're questioning your intuition. You should be on par with that at all times. So when you're faced with the decision that you need to make, if you really feel anxious, that's a sign that you're out of alignment. What else can we substitute for the word alignment? Let's use the word flow. If you're in the flow, you're not thinking. You're just moving and you're going with the flow, meaning that you understand that there's nothing to question. There's nothing to second guess. And even if you have people around you that disbelieve, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They can't stop you. If you feel regret after you ignore your first instinct, that's another sign that you're way out of alignment. Let's go back. You've allowed yourself to second guess. Then you leaned on your anxiety and your worries about being fearful about moving forward in what you believe. And then that ends up in you feeling regretful because 9 times out of 10, you're going to go with the worst idea if you're anxious or if you're second guessing, because the first idea is the idea. The first thing to believe in is the thing to believe in. But the minute you say, nah, it's too good to be true. It must be more. I must need to think more about this. And you start thinking about alternatives to the idea that you actually have. The alternative to the idea that you have is failure. I'm just going to keep it real simple because the initial idea is enthusiastic, it's hopeful, it's cheerful, it's exciting. And then it's like, but what if? And a lot of people, they have negative self-talk, so they start talking themselves into the wrong direction. How do we reprogram the mind to trust ourselves again? How? Practice daily silence. Meditation is great, but another one is journaling. Sit down for a few minutes and start to write out your thoughts and ideas. This is a good place to do all that weirdness. If you're going to second guess, state alternative ideas, whatever, just write it all out and don't judge yourself. Just get it out of your head. So now you can take a look at it and you can see it like right here. I see it on paper. And now I can see how crazy it is that like this first idea, I know when I read it, this is what I want to do. But these alternative ideas, they're almost like safety nets or mechanisms, plan Bs and all that kind of nonsense. That's how you lose, because you know what you want, but you're not committed, right? So number one thing you got to do is practice stillness, practice silence. And journaling is a great way to do that for sure. Another one would be replace disempowering thoughts with questions like, what does my gut say before my fear speaks up? What do I really feel? Because the minute I start leaning on the questions, there's no answers. And a question leads to an answer, which leads to another question, which leads to an answer, which leads to another question. The only problem is you probably won't circle back to the initial idea or the initial spark. The best thing you can do is ask yourself, what does my gut instinct tell me? Like, for real. Not my fear instinct, not my anxiety, not my worries, not my doubts. But what does my gut tell me? Like, this is the true voice inside. What is it telling me that I want? What you want to do is you want to stop outsourcing your decision making. And that's by starting with micro decision making. So what does that mean? I tell people this all the time. So this is something that I've had a lot of people ask me about. It's like a muscle. So when you're trying to be committed and you're trying to exercise that muscle of following your gut, trusting yourself, you need to exercise it. But how are you going to do that if you only try to exercise it like in the big moments where you're like, this is life or death or do or die, and I need to make this decision now. And I haven't been practicing making decisions, so I'm probably gonna make a bad decision. Why? Because I'm probably gonna second guess myself. The easiest way to stop yourself from doing it is to take charge on the little things. Things that if it doesn't work out your way, doesn't really matter so much, right? So if it's like, you know what? I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to drive up towards the front and I'm going to find a parking space because I just believe one is going to be there for me, even though everyone else is like parked all the way back here trying to find a spot. And you'll probably find out that if you drive up to the front with confidence, you'll probably find an empty parking spot. Or, let's say you go to a restaurant. Instead of sitting there for 30 minutes, sending the waiter back and forth or the waitress back and forth, let me think more about it. What do you think? What do you suggest? No, don't do that. Look at something on the menu and with confidence, pick it. Just say, this is what I want. This is how I want it. Give that instruction to the waiter or waitress. Let them go, do their thing, bring it back, and eat it. You may just find out that, wow, I love this. This is great. Or you might find out that, man, this really was kind of trash, but at least I committed to it and I'm cool. It didn't kill me, it didn't hurt me. But now I'm learning to build up my decision-making processes. And now that I've said these couple like small ideas, I'm sure you could think of a bunch of different things that you do every single day that you literally could just decide, like, practice it. When you make use of these micro decisions on a daily basis, you're going to find out that what once was tough is really not that big of a deal. The harder part in life is actually not making the decisions that you want to make and then ultimately living a life of regret. By making small decisions with confidence and being willing to commit to it, by accepting whatever comes next. Hey, if I hate this meal, who cares? Hey, if I end this relationship, but I feel like that's probably the best thing for me and this person goes on and gets married, it does whatever, it's all good. It wasn't for me. If I drive up to the front and I just believe I'm going to get this parking spot and someone else pulls into it, I don't have to get mad. You know what? It wasn't for me, but I believed in myself and there was a spot there. Maybe next time I can get there sooner. You start building up your muscle to make decisions, but not only that, to commit to them and also to accept whatever comes next without any concerns of fear, doubt, worry, nothing like that. Because you realize that it won't kill you. It'll just make you stronger. It'll just make you smarter. It'll just make you more decisive. And that's a big thing because a lot of people nowadays are very indecisive. I have to mention, which is going to be very helpful, is to practice using affirmations, right? So just affirm your greatness. I'll give you a few that you can try, right? So repeat after me, all right? I trust myself. Right here, this is what you say. I trust myself. All right. I trust myself. I trust myself. My first thought is my best thought. My first thought is my best thought. My intuition is my protector. My intuition is my protector. Now, these are very powerful because they're checking you right where you need to be checked. I trust myself, number one, meaning I know that I'm not going to have a gut instinct to hurt myself, right? I know that I want to be happy, healthy, wealthy, successful, enjoy, so I trust that that's what, if I have a gut feeling or instinct, I trust that I'm wanting to go to a healthy place. So I trust myself. My first thought is my best thought. Why is that important? Because that's your gut. That's not double-mindedness. I'm happy. I'm willing to accept whatever comes with this decision because this is what I want to do, and I'm deciding on it. And then lastly, my intuition is my protector. I think this is giving respect to the fact that, like, your inner voice is you, but it's also something that gets buried into the ego, which is not you, but it's what you want to believe because it's identity crisis. We're fed, you should do this, you should be this way, you should live like this, you should date this person, you should treat people this way, you should care about this. But that's all people suggesting to you from the outside world, what they think. But these same people are dealing with the same problem. And you know it because you see it and you judge them, and you should stop judging them because you should start looking at what people do that is not correct and just do what's correct for you. Starting with trusting your inner voice. Listening to your gut is a daily discipline, just like anything else. You have to do it on repetitious cycles in order to get the best out of it. At the end of the day, people who make the best decisions up front and they tell themselves these affirmations like, my first decision is the best decision, I trust myself. They usually are able to put their feelings and ego aside and adopt better logic. They're also able to kind of disregard logic and get into the emotional side and get into the intuitive side. They have done so much work logically, such as disciplining themselves to be silent, to journal, to be disciplined in terms of affirming themselves and believing it, practicing decisions, that they trust their gut. They realize that, hey, listen, I usually do what's right, so I'm not going to worry about this. Every time you honor trusting your gut, you strengthen it because you start to, give a little bit more respect and validation to yourself as opposed to seeking validation from somebody else. Start small, but start today. So make sure you drop some comments down there and tell me what you're going to decide to change or decide to do today without overthinking it. Give me the small ones. If you have some big ones too, feel free to put those down and I'll jump in there and we'll have some conversations. This is your real gut health and it's time to take it seriously. It's something that if you don't take it seriously, you won't be successful. A lot of people don't realize, how do people live a life of regret? And it's because they never decided what was best for them. They decided what they thought was best for them based on other people's false validation. And they took advice from people who didn't actually live up to the same advice that they were giving. And that's a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? So listen, if you guys have made it this far, you truly are the realest. Not only because you gave me some watch hours and all that good stuff and some likes. Let's get the likes up, everybody. Take advantage of that. But because that means that you're willing to deal with constructive criticism. Like, not only do I want you to just pat yourself on the back for being a part of the tribe and for caring enough to try to change your life, but like the fact that you were able to sit through something that is constructively criticizing some of your mechanisms in terms of how you make decisions, who you are right now, all that stuff can change almost like this because you can really commit to powerful decisions very quickly and you can implement decisions very quickly. But then you have to be willing to wait in that still, dark place, like planting the seed into the dirt and believing that you need to keep putting water on it. You need to keep, weeding it, and pulling out the weeds and stuff like that and keeping the pests away so that it can grow. Because if you don't do that, then nothing happens and you start to believe that my instincts aren't that great, my ideas aren't that great, and you're wrong. They're amazing. You're here for a reason. And the only way for you to really tap into that is to practice some of these things we learned in this video. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap this one up. It's a little bit more time than what I expected to take out, but I do appreciate you all for rocking with me. Again, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and see you on the next one. Much love to everybody. It's the man Chaka Harley signing out. Peace.